G'day you legends, welcome back to the channel. I am PommyInOz and it's round 8 recap, and that were a belter. We had last kick dramas, we had record breakers, we had milestones, and we had derby fire. And one lion cub named Ashcroft made Big Dad proud, and while sides flexed their muscles, some got walloped, some got some serious questions to ask, and some are praying for the mid-season draft. From Dogs dismantling Port, to Carlton getting a reality check, to Sydney showing who the daddies of New South Wales are, we have got you covered. So grab your brew, chuck on your colours, settle in, because it's time for the wrap of round 8. So round 8 kicked off with an absolute thriller at Marvel, and let me tell you, we were a Finbar Mally fairy tale away from footy folklore. Debutant drama to injury carnage. This was a classic game that even had the classic Essendon fade out. But they didn't go full Essendon. So let's go into it. It was a night of chaos, courage, and maybe a cult hero was formed with a sexy little mo. Essendon looked like they were going to absolutely decimate this game. They were fast, they were clean, they cut North's defence to smithereens. Perkins came out like a man possessed. He got 2 goals, one from beyond the arc, and really set the tone. The Bombers were 6 goals, 1 to North's 2-3, and it looked like feet up, easy night. But as we've seen in 2025, footy is never that simple. The second term, North slowed the game right down, and it almost felt like Essendon's ball movement hit the pause button. Both sides traded injuries, they traded goals. Ridley, he pinged a hammy, Gresham did a groin, and Archer, he looks like he's going to miss a good bit of football. Still, Essendon added a couple more, and Perkins, he snagged his third, and they took a 25-point lead into the shed. But then North came out. Clarkson's noises ringing in the ears. McKercher, he looked sensational. Larkey, he started to kick goals that aren't in red time. And the Roos managed to get back into this game to make it a 1-point ball game. But just when you thought it was going to be game over and the Bombers do the Bombers, you had Nate Caddy, he took a very smart soccered goal. Cam Zerha, he tried to get them back. He got one from the car park. And suddenly the Roos were coming. And the noise was pretty impressive here. Harrison Jones, he went down. Huge ankle roll. And the final quarter came. And it kind of, that injury said something to Essendon. Keiko, as he always does, he crumbed an absolute cracking goal. And Dersma, he managed to put the icing on the cake. And then enter Finbar Mally, debutant VFL battler. 2 minutes left. He had the mark 35 out. And you're thinking this is Disney script AFL stuff. Umpire miraculously calls play on. He shanks the kick. And the Bombers managed to get a 3-point win. Relief for the Dons. Heartbreak for the Roos. And Mally, well, he's definitely left a mark on the game. Tactical takeouts from this game. Essendon's first half ball movement is so good. They are really looking like a proper team, particularly off halfback. Redmond, he really linked up well. Durham's got that real aggressive fuggishness about him as well, which really gives them a bit of ascendancy. And they can isolate opposition defenders, which really do send teams scrambling. But there is like kind of when the pressure comes, and we saw that with North, they almost get concrete in their legs. They don't look to use the ball wisely. They don't look to be bold. And if Larkey got some real good service, he could have turned this round. I did like Sheasel's game in this one, though. The worry for me is Essendon's midfield. It's either brilliant or it's not. Once North started to win first possession, Powell and Jerry, it really looked weak. The standout players for Essendon, Zach Merritt, led by example as always. He holds things together. Perkins, he got some good goals and looks quite the player. Caddy, he's building. Redmond, he drove the rebound with dash and dare. They need more of it down the back. And Sam Durran, a real physical presence. For North, Tristan Zeri, he's having a big year. Dominated hit-outs. He gives silver service. Tom Powell, composed with the ball in hand, but also has that nice hard edge. I do like a bit of the Powell dog. Cam Zerha, he looks like he's just finding some real good form. We keep saying he's going to have a breakout. I do like what I'm seeing from him. Jay Simkin, when the game was there to be won, he did go up a notch. And Sheasel, after being in the press for all the wrong reasons, he covered the ground like a Tesla on turbo. Essendon, the talking point here is winning ugly. Their depth, though, now he's going to be tested. Ridley, Gresham, Jones, all down. That's 3 walk-up starters. North, they're starting to find a bit of identity. Still need to start to get the results. So the Dons, they scrape through. The Roos walk away with a bit of belief. He's now officially a cult hero, is that Finbar, though, isn't he? He nearly had the fairy tale goal. 1 down, 8 to go. And we roll into game 2. St Kilda versus Fremantle. This one had everything. It was a defensive slog, third quarter eruption, and the Dockers midfield ghosted again. If you wanted to see a visual definition of what makes this game great, this game probably was it. The first half, it looked like we'd stumbled across into a defensive time machine from Ross Lyon. The Saints, they broke the shackles and absolutely torched Fremantle, piling on 10 second half goals to run out 61-point winners. This wasn't a win, it was a statement. And what was the first half, it really showed that contested footy that we expect to see from Ross. And the Saints were dominant. They belted the Dockers around the ball, stacking up a massive amount of clearances and contested possessions. The first half was ugly, and Fremantle were forced to play this way. They had a lot of sideways kicking, and at the main break, Fremantle only managed 1 goal, 1 behind, 7 points, their third lowest score in history. Saints literally put this pressure on and stifled that midfield of any oxygen. And the intent from Saints was there that this could be there. They are a defensive side, but once they get ascendancy, they can really cut you apart. And then in the second half, Cooper Sharman, he put his cape on, and we were literally watching the Sharman show. He launched himself at the footy like he was at school, clunking marks, got some big goals. One was a snap from the middle of nowhere, and he swung the game into a scrap heap very early on. Machito Owens, he was real class forward, really a good little link man as well when he's there. And Hugo Garcia, after being touted of getting the slamming last week, he responded in the way that you expect every good young footballer. He was sensational, a real tackle machine and a big rundown chase, showing that St Kilda have that heart. Fremantle, again, the questions will come on there. Sarong, he couldn't get away. Jack McRae monstered Brayshaw in this game, and it fell apart. And then Hayden Young, he pinged a hammy, which looks like that's him done for the year. And Fremantle's resistance went out the window. In the final quarter, there was no answer from the Dockers. 6-4 from the Saints. And before you knew it, this was Ross Lyon's masterclass, stifling what you do well and then punishing you on the other end. The tactical takeouts of this game are Ross Lyon doesn't just teach structure, he coaches responses. After being soft around the footy the last couple of weeks, they came out snarling. The midfield was tight, it starved Fremantle of any clean use, it was aggressive and smart, and the way that they protected the corridor and forced them to go slow and out wide was very, very impressive. Fremantle were painfully slow. They refused to trigger any risk in this game, and they just kept recycling it off halfback until it was eventually turned over. Once Hayden Young went out, Sarong just really had no option to find a second gear, and Brayshaw just didn't do anything. St Kilda doing what they do well, isolating key forwards and leading to space, and it caused havoc. It's one of the strongest methods to play this game is Ross Lyon when it is working well, because his blueprint is kill what you do and make you do what we do well. And this was a real impressive performance from the Saints. Standout players, Cooper Sharman and Machito Owens, they were strong, particularly Machito Owens. His ability to be that link man really helps them out. Jack McRae, he continues to impress. Donovan around the clearances. He's playing his best footy for a long time. Hugo Garcia, a redemption arc that Hollywood would enjoy. And Callum Wilkie just doesn't get beaten, does he? Fremantle, Jordan Clark, he tried to inject some pace, but he couldn't do. Corey Wagner, they need more of him. He's intent and he's hard. He's really strong. Alex Pearce looked like a lone soldier at times in the back line. And Quinton Narkle tried to find a bit of spark. Didn't quite go their way. Quick talking points. Fremantle's ball movement when it's tough, they want to play safe. And every time the heat is on, safety first overloads. And in this type of game nowadays in 2025, you're a sitting duck. St Kilda showed that they can slow you down, but also hurt you when the game opens up. A scary combination. So the Saints go marching on, marching with venom. Fremantle, they're in choppy waters. Injuries mounting now with Hidden Young out. Their ball use is stuck in the mud. And unless something shifts, they're looking mediocre. But Saints, when it goes well, it goes well. And don't forget, this game here in Ballywhack was played in almost like a torrential storm. In conditions that would make a wind turbine blush. The Bulldogs didn't just beat Port, they embarrassed them. 15-goal flagging at the aptly named Mars Stadium, 131-41, a 90-point demolition, and it looked like the Dogs were in cruise control. The match opened up with some big score reviews. Willie Rioli was overturned. It gave Port the perfect start, and the other one, a goal line grab to Carmis, was awarded and converted. Early days, but it did look like it was going to be a one-on-one scrap. But once the Bulldogs found their rhythm, Port, they couldn't hold on. 7 unanswered goals in the wind. 7 in the wind. Norton, English, Bontempelli, all kicking lots of snags. Leading a Dogs outfit. They had a mass amount of goal kickers, their biggest score of the season. And it didn't really tell the full story. Ed Richards, he sparked the second quarter with a big boundary goal. And then it was foot on the throat. Luke Cleary, he was strong. He snagged. Trelaw slot back into this side like he hadn't missed. And suddenly that Doggies midfield looks scary. Port, they literally looked like they checked out at half-time. There was a tiny flicker from Pal Pepper and Mitch Giordodis. But once it looked like they were coming back, Bontempelli kicked 2 in a minute, shut the door. Final quarter was just literally cruise control. 5 unanswered goals. Bevo called it the best win of the year, and it's hard to argue. He's coach of the year at the minute. Tactical breakdown. The Dogs are the masters of what they're doing. They are controlling the territory, using short kicks well, and owning the corridor. And their intercept game with O'Connell and Lobb is absolutely strong. Dale and JJ rebounding, making it quick. Port, on the other hand, they just can't get any scoreboard pressure. Once the Dogs worked out their clearance issues, Port defence buckled, and it's just wave after wave of inside 50. It is really poor. Once you break the spine of Port, you really do. And that's something that Ken Hinckley's going to have to sort out because it's becoming a common theme of the year. The Doggies, Bontempelli, Tim English, Aaron Norton, Bailey Dale, James O'Donnell were all exceptional in this. Particularly Tim English. He glided around like a giraffe. Port Adelaide, not much to really take out of this game. Connor Rosie, again, had a lot of the ball, not really any impact. Zach Butters, he fought hard, but he was overwhelmed in the end. Port have got a lot to look at. And talking points, Port's ability to adapt to the conditions was shocking. The Dogs looked like they were born with it. With both sides really expecting to try and knuckle down this year, the Dogs absolutely pulled Port's pants down. And it begs the question, where is Port's identity when there's no control of the game? It's a big W for the Doggies, clinical, ruthless, and a little bit cheeky. The Bevos boys are back in form. They've got that balance. They've got players back. And as for Port, it looks bad. It's a tough week ahead for Ken and Hinckley. For Ken Hinckley and Port Adelaide. Because this was a full-blown ambush. And then we go on to my team, Carlton. Last couple of weeks, you thought maybe Carlton were finding something, and then this week, the eviction notice was served. Adelaide absolutely torched the Blues. They absolutely destroyed it, winning 110-50 in the most polished fourth quarter performance we've seen from Adelaide this season. It was fast, it was fearless, it was feral at times, and the Crows tore the Blues to pieces. None other than Captain Clutch was ahead of this, Jordan Dawson. He's come under a little bit of cosh this year, but he racked up the ball, but also 3 goals, and not just the scoreboard, but the tone in which he played the game. They were really, really strong. The boundary line special at half-time as well, the red time goals that Carlton likes to cough up. And once that happened, Carlton literally went Casper the Friendly Ghost. Adelaide was sharper. They moved the ball with speed and spread, and they made Carlton go slow and made them go out wide. At times, it looked like Carlton were glued to the grass. Charlie Kernow had a massive bomb, but once that happened, the Crows just reacted. 3 straight goals, and before you knew it, the game was over. The killer stat, the Blues, negative 59 in uncontested possessions at halftime. Their worst half metric since 29. That's not just been beaten, that's been obliterated, and things went from bad to worse. Rochelle, Peatley, Rankin, a 3-minute billets in the third, slammed home goals, and all the hope in the contest was gone. Rankin and Rochelle were sensational, being midfield creativity and links. The Crows held Carlton to just 5 goals in 3 quarters, and by the time that the Blues did manage to get some junk time goals, the damage was long done. Adelaide now looks like a bona fide top 4, and the Blues, again, when the game isn't on their terms and the pressure's not there, look mighty exposed. The tactical tape, Adelaide's ball movement is absolutely electric. Sharp, smash, clean, all through the middle, isolating Carlton, forcing mismatches, and their ability to use hybrid players creates overloads around the contest, and Carlton struggle. Without Crouch, they look a lot more dynamic. Peatley looks like he's ready for the mature role. Carlton, again, collapsed under pressure. It's a team-wide issue. The midfield, though, just doesn't support the ball carrier enough. Their spread was non-existent, and Carlton have to find a way, when the game isn't on their terms, to use all that talent they've got to impact a game. Standout players, Dawson, Rochelle, Rankin, Peatley and Worrell, they were sensational, along with Max Michelani. They were brilliant. All of them really did provide better outlets. For the Blues, George Hewitt, he worked hard. Cripps, he again looked like a lone fighter. Jacob Wheaterin, he was under siege, but he did all right. Nick Haynes playing the loose role. He read the ball. This wasn't a bad night, though. The quick talking point is this was a tactical spanking. The Crows exposed Carlton's lack of outside one, their inability to adapt, and once again, their over-reliance on certain players. If they're not on top of the contest and they're not atop in the front half, it falls apart. Adelaide, they're flying, clean deep, and spreading the load beautifully. The Blues bubble, it burst this week. The Crows, they got their bubble back. 500 scores in 8 games, a stacked midfield, and when they play like this, they're incredibly tough to beat. Adelaide look the real deal. Let's get stuck into Game 5, Collingwood versus Geelong. And this was heartbreaking. 245 consecutive games. The script was there to be written. The gods had an idea. McRae said that they were the winners at the end of this game, the way they reacted. And I can't disagree. Jack Crisp had a chance to make the fairy tale ending, and instead, it was a 3-point heartbreak. But the game was there to be won for the Pies. His set shots sailed wide, and in the end, a 90-87 scoreline. But this was a genuine heavyweight scrap. In a game that the momentum changed hands more times than a meat pie, it was incredible. The Pies led by 20 in the third. It felt like 40 the way the game was going, but Geelong making them tactical shifts and their ability to change the game was impressive. Nick Dacos was on fire early on, Pendlebury defying time, and the banana from him was vintage stuff, bending back the years as much as the footy. But Geelong, when the chips were down, they went bananas. Bailey Smith absolutely destroyed the game in the third and in the fourth. Jeremy Cameron got that goal and then managed to be a real big link. Sean Manor, as he often does, is that perfect conduit between midfield and forward. And at the final change, it suddenly was squeaky bum time. Lockie Schultz thought he had the sealer. The review said otherwise. And then Ollie Henry came back to bite them in the arse. He shot to Darcy Moore handball, kicked the goal. Dempsey went absolute showtime. Mark of the year that was. And the Cats managed to get in front. Majacek tried his best to drag them back. 2 quick goals. Crisp was reliable, durable player. 245 games. He had the chance to win it and he was heartbreak. But this game here showcases how clever Geelong are. Moving danger full forward, putting him out of the way. He impacted the game in the fourth. Bailey Smith now controls that midfield. A tactical masterclass from Chris Scott, and really did do well considering Reece Stanley went down early. I really do like Blitzarbs in the ruck. Collingwood's defensive pressure, the tactical takeout, was elite. They shut down Geelong's rebound, forced turn after turnover, and it looked like they controlled the game. But Geelong, they have many ways to skin a cat. The Cats reshuffled early. No Reece Stanley with a hammy. Shannon Neal and Blitzarbs taking the ruck. Tom Stewart missing meant Mitch Duncan and Mark O'Connell were holding the fort down back. And to their credit, they never broke. Crucially, Geelong's spread in scoring load, but also away from the stoppage, created chaos, and they used their speed at the fall of the ball. It was a gutsy win, and it just showcases how tough Geelong are. Standout players in this game for the Pies, Dacos, Pendlebury were sensational in the midfield. Brody Myercheck, Schultz, they were really, really strong. And Quaynor is having a really strong year just quietly. I loved how he rebounded in this game. The Cats, Dangerfield, Smith, really, really strong. They dictated the terms in the third and the fourth quarter. Strong. And the fact that Bailey Smith now can control that midfield, huge positives. Dempsey, honestly, fast becoming one of my favourite players to watch. His lead-up work is sensational, and he's hard two-way running. Ollie Henry doing what he needs to do. He's now taking that Tom Hawkins role with Jeremy Cameron. He was a real good target throughout. And Sean Manor, big time player, real clutch. I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. There's losing and then there's that. The Pies won in just about every metric, and it was a killer blow. But I will say this, the Hill rundown tackle, I still think that was holding the ball. I know many people will disagree with me. There was chances to win it, and this really is a credit to Geelong. Their ability to find a way just shows their premiership credentials. We saw two of the big boys in this game, and both teams leave this game with pride. Two contenders, one managing to get the win, and a finish that should go down in folklore. Geelong, they find ways. Collingwood, they'll bounce back. This one will sting, and Jack Crispy might have missed, but he didn't miss a beat all night, and it was gutting that he didn't get the goal. This was a Gawn masterclass, and it was a reminder that one man can sometimes take over again. The Melbourne captain turned in one of the all-time great ruck performances, 35 touches, 22 contested possessions, 9 clearances, and a goal himself in a feisty win. 108-76, but no mistake, this wasn't a cakewalk. The Demons were wasteful and wobbly in the first, and even though they dominated the inside 50 count, they only led by 9, and the Eagles managed to get back into it, kicking 4 goals late in the second term. It was the Eagles who took the lead into the main break, but enter Max Gawn, tore the game apart, 14 touches, 10 hit-outs, 4 clearances, full beast mode in that term, and before you know it, 7 goals to 2 in that term. They flipped the script. Without Clayton Oliver, Petrarca dominated in the midfield. Viney, as always, held down that midfield fort, and Caleb Windsor and Harvey Langford had probably their best games together since they've joined the clubs. Harrison Petty, he missed though due to concussion. He was sidelined in this game. Daniel Turner, though, he had a very good game. 3 goals, presented well. It's not an impressive game, though. This was like 2 bottom teams fighting it out. And the tactical Turk is Melbourne. Contest to clearance, it's bruising. Once they get their spacing right and they get that dominance, it's hard to beat them. Gawn was for sensational. Second efforts, they managed to control the game. Their forward entries, it just becomes repetitive. It's flatter, more direct because they have that control. And also, they have that ability to control what you do as well. My issue is, can they do this against teams that spread? I don't think they can. Because West Coast did have some good patches when they took the game on. Hunt, Hewitt, Waterman all capitalised and found ways to break it. But this is one of them games where it felt like West Coast had to go into survival mode in the second. And that is a concern because we're not seeing what we're seeing at Richmond at the minute, where they take the game on. Standout players, Max Gawn, obviously sensational. Petrarca and Viney, what you'd expect. Danny Turner, shifting forward, was very composed. And Harvey Langford looks an incredible player. Jake Waterman, Elijah Hewitt, they were very lively and a bit of hope there for the Eagles. Ginby, tough as nails before the nose injury, but he plays with intent. Oscar Allen, strong, moving behind the ball, was very strong in this, and Marriage showing signs. Quick talking point, might be the best game we've seen from Max Gawn for a long time, but Eagles 0-8. The fight is there, but that application isn't there. It seems like we've seen this before, and it's going to be very, very interesting. McGovern looked like he'd been hurt. It's going to be interesting what McQuarrie does, because this looks like it's getting bad to worse. So the Demons, they flicked the switch. Gawn took over. They banked to win. The Eagles, some good patches, but again, didn't sustain it. Again, though, the questions will be asked. It looks like they've gone back to that contain stoppage game. Can they do that against the good teams? Time will tell. Sydney versus GWS, the Sydney derby. And it's never just a game. This was all about pride. And the Swans showed they are the daddies over in New South Wales. They were 14-point winners. There was fireworks, late scares, and some big goal celebrations. 87-73. But the margin probably flatters GWS. Swans burst out the blocks. 5 goals of the game in the game. Helped by parts. Giants just being wasteful when handing out free kicks. James Jordan, he got loose. Chad Warner, he had his best game of the year. And Heaney is unplayable when he plays like this. But the match turned nasty after the main break. Bedford, he was running, and Heaney and Warner copped a swing to an arm when he was running against Heaney and Warner from Melican in a nasty collision. Bedford had to be subbed out, and Melican will probably serve a 3-game ban for this. With the chief tagger off the field, Sydney took control. Warner ended up winning the medal for this game. Brilliant game. And Justin McInerney gave the Swans some spark. But the Giants, they tried. Tom Green, 34 touches. Finn Callaghan, they went there. Aaron Goodcadman, he had some glimpses as well. But the Swans were cleaner, more composed, and absolutely dominated the fourth quarter. James Jordan, he was impressive, doing a run with roll and kicking. And Joel Hamlin getting his first goal in 97 games. It got the SCG in party mode. Subbed on late, Jake Stringer, he tried to get the game going. He kicked 3 goals in the final term and nearly dragged them from the death. But the Swans, I thought, controlled this game from start to finish pretty well. And this was an impressive performance by the Swans, long overdue. Tactical takes then, well, Sydney's intent was clear. Win the territory battle and try and stifle that rebound. And it worked. James Jordan did incredibly well in that kind of run with roll with Whitfield. And Sydney's wings really started to gain the ascendancy. Their work through stoppage, through Rowbottom and Warner was real strong. And the execution under pressure, Swans just hit targets. The Giants, they did miss Bedford, that run with roll. But again, the question asked, when you stop their slingshot run, something happens. And it is fascinating to watch. So this is a real watch this space with GWS. Slow them down, put the pressure on. Doesn't feel like they have much apart from miracle moments. Chad Warner and James Jordan were standouts here, and Isaac Heaney, another high impact showing. McInerney, I really enjoyed what he was doing in this game, and Tom McCartin did very well in the one-on-ones with Jesse Hogan. Tom Green, Callaghan, they stood out. Callan Ward, he's old, reliable, isn't he? And Aaron Cadman, he's showing promise. Sydney finally ground it out. It wasn't pretty at times, but it was mature footy. And for GWS, it's again an issue when you take away their ball movement. Do they have anything else? It's going to be something that will be a question of who will finish higher. I still think GWS will, but the Swans showing that they can find that Bloods culture. Game 8 then, and 100 years of brown and gold. And they gave the old boys a procession at the start, and then came out and were very dominant in this game, as you'd expect. 109-44, and it wasn't even close after the first quarter. The pre-game was all about Premiership favourites, and they came out, and a favourite of theirs, 500 career goals for Jack Gunston. It took him till late in the third. There was a very bland celebration, but he got mobbed by his teammates. D'Ambrosio was brilliant, played his best game, had multiple touches and 2 goals, could have had more. And Josh Battle was an impenetrable force. There was moments for Richmond, though. I do enjoy the fact that they played their game. And then the little brain fades towards the end of quarters, particularly in the second half, really killed this game. The Tigers, they have it in moments, but you can see around that 52-minute mark, they had so much possession and so much field territory, they just couldn't convert. And then letting easy goals slip towards the end, it really, really hurt. Uze's got a lot to think about, but I do like their system. And long term, it'll be fine. Hawthorn find a way to win. Obviously, it's just Richmond, but they really did need this. This was really a masterclass in how Hawthorn worked it out. They were under the cosh early doors and were probably lucky that Richmond was so wasteful. But once they found a way to get that second kick away, they were just dominant. Their clearance work was clean. Their transition game super sharp. And their pressure was brilliant. CJ, he provided some grunt off the back half. Weddle was everywhere. Newcomb, that grunty guy, and the way he sharks forward. And Ginny and Watson, they were sneaky and they kicked goals. Richmond, outside of the first half, after that, it was really holding on. And it was nice to see them take the game on in the first. Noah Bolter, without them, this could have been really messy. For Hawthorn, standout players, Battle and D'Ambrosia. Newcombe was brilliant. Gunston was reliable. Question marks, though, on Sicily. Really, really struggling with his ball use and under pressure, and it's fascinating to see. Tim Taranto, he found a lot of the ball, but he's disciplined. That 50-metre penalty wasn't good. Hopper, he did well, competed at the stoppage, and I really did like Campbell's game. I thought he worked hard, and Noah Bolter is just a rot down the back. It was a big statement win from Hawthorn. They've been building quietly, and they needed to blow off some cobwebs after some disappointing results. Richmond, West Coast this week, they should be all right, but I am impressed that they're keeping doing what they're doing. A century in the making for the Hawks, and the Hawks made it a day to remember. They flogged an old rival, Richmond they're building, and then we head on to the Q Clash. And it was billed as the big Q Clash, a chance for Gold Coast to prove they were here against their rowdier big brother, and Lions showed who's boss. 17-point win, 64-49. And they have won 12 of 13, and one of the Ashcrofts took this game over. Will Ashcroft was everywhere. He ended up winning his dad's medal in just his third Q Clash. 34 touches, 9 clearances, millions of metres gained. This game was a prize fight. Both teams looked to play their best football. Brisbane, though, were a lot more polished, and they kept it close, but in the second quarter, they burst away. 2 minutes, Charlie Cameron took this game away. Tuke Miller tried to give them a sniff, and it was just 11 at half-time, but Brisbane, they slammed it through, 5-1, dismantling the Suns around the stoppages. The Ashcroft brothers doing what they want. McCluggage and Dunkley nullifying Rao, and McCluggage being the absolute conduit. Gold Coast did manage to make the scoreboard a bit tidier, but Brisbane had already wrapped this game up, and Brisbane showing that Gold Coast may have some work to do. The midfield control is the tactics here and the stoppage spread. They won the clearances by a long way, and although Weller was off injured and Rao was shut down, it was very, very easy. They didn't have the soldiers to wrestle it back. Noah Anderson tried to do what he could, but he didn't have the support once Rao was taken out of the game, and they controlled the territory, Brisbane. It's going to be interesting, that forward line, because even though we keep talking about it, they find ways. Archie, Charlie Cameron, their ball movement is imperious in that forward 50, and they're a real one to watch, Brisbane. Players stood out, McCluggage, Dunkley and Ashcroft. The job they did in the midfield was sensational. Levi, he was sensational as well. The younger brother looks just as good as the bigger one. And Jack Payne was really solid in this game. Tuck Miller, he had that big quarter, but then went missing. Danny Rioli and Bailey Humphries showed a bit of spark. Bailey Humphrey, though, disciplined towards the end. And Budwai Euland, I really enjoyed his calmness down the back. Same old sorry for the Suns. Effort's there. Polish is missing. They have got the talent. Brisbane, though, a very stable side. That was it. Unfinished business for Brisbane. They wanted to prove who is the daddy, and they did. Gold Coast, though, they'll be all right, but it does show you where they are. Well, there you have it. Round 8 is in the books. Hawthorn partying like it's 2015. Gold Coast still stuck in their big brother Lions shadows. Carlton fans wondering, was 3 games just a dream, or is it just a blip this week? And Collingwood heartbroken but proud. Who's climbing the ladder in your opinion? Who looks absolutely cooked? Who was your player of the round? Let me know. And can anyone stop the Bulldogs at the minute? They look really good. Don't forget to chuck us a like, subscribe and follow. If you're new, hit that bell as well. And make sure you are in the channel. Head on over to PommyInOz.com. There is loads of merch up there. You can get some cool hats, some cool shirts. This is me signing off. I'll see you soon. Footy chaos, rants and more footy madness to come. See you soon. Pom out.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.